Lesson number 4. Let us talk about direct proof. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to explain the concept of direct proof, follow the steps of direct proof, prove mathematical statement directly. Direct proof is one of the most familiar forms of proof in mathematics. The simplest from a logic perspective style of proof. We use it to prove conditional statements or implication of the form if P then Q or P implies Q, which can write as if P then Q, the symbol arrowhead pointing to the right. The method of the proof is to take an original statement P, which we assume to be true, and use it to show directly that another statement Q is true. Steps on how to perform this direct proof. First, assume the statement P is true. Then second, use what we know about P and other facts as necessary to deduce that another statement Q is true. That is, show if P, then Q is true. Example number 1. Directly prove that if n is an odd integer, then n squared is also an odd integer. So class, in here, I will show you my live Zoom meeting teaching in my previous ComSci students. So watch and learn.
And then, n squared, we need to compute the right side of the equation. So, we can separate this one, o kaya pwede ng diretso by special product. So, kung gusto nyo i-separate para i-multiply, pwede naman. Kasi ang alam ko, ang natatandaan ng mga estudyante, FOIL method. Tama ba? How to multiply two binomials? So, FOIL method. So, copy n squared is equal to, multiply this one. First term sa first term, 2k times 2k, 4k squared. And then FOIL, FO, outer terms, magkabilang dulo. So, 2k times 1, 2k. And then FOIL, FOI, inner terms, dalawang nasa gitna. So, 1 times 2k, 2k, and then last terms, dalawang pangalawa. So, 1 times 1 is 1. And then n squared is equal to combine similar terms. So, 4k squared, you can add this to 2k plus 2k, that is 4k. Then copy positive 1. And then, kailangan nating i-show ito. Yung definition ng odd integer. The n is equal to 2k plus 1. Kailangan mapakita natin yung format na to. Yan. So, ang gagawin ko para mapakita ito, to show it, is to get the common factor of these terms. Kung mapapansin nyo, itong first term saka second term, meron silang common factor. Anong common factor? Na kailangan mapalabas ko yung 2, pwede siyang 4, pwede siyang 2. So, ang gagawin kong common factor niya ay 2. Kasi para ipakita tong formula na to for odd integer. Okay? Yun nasa upper right. Then, ang gagawin ko, factor out each term of the previous equation. So, ang gagawin ko, yung bawat term 4k squared saka 4k, i-divide ko sa 2. Then, 4k squared divided by 2, that is 2k squared. Nakakuha ba? Then, plus, eto, 4k divided by 2, yung common factor nila na 2, that's 2k. Then, copy plus 1. Okay? So, assuming this 2k squared plus 2k taken as 1 is also an integer. An integer. Let's take for example, is an integer example P. Is an integer P. So, ina-assume ko ngayon, yung P is equal to 2k squared plus 2k. Naintindihan ba? So, ina-assume ko integer to ha. Integer ito na ang katumbas niya sample P. Sample lang. So, ngayon, n squared is equal to, copy 2, if we replace 2k squared plus 2k by P, because we assume this 2k squared plus 2k is an integer P, so 2p plus 1. So, ngayon, bumalik tayo sa format ng definition ng odd integer, na kung saan ang odd integer is equal to 2k plus 1. So, it means na yung n squared din, n squared ay odd integer. Kasi ang katumbas niya ay 2p plus 1. Kumbaga, yung k, ibang letter lang ginamit. Ginamit lang natin p. Do you follow? So ngayon, kung yung n daw, odd, yung n squared, odd. Kasi same yung format nila sa definition ng odd, which is 2k plus 1. Yung k, pwede maging other variable. Pwede siya maging p, pwede maging r, pwede maging s, pwede maging t. Basta ang pattern mo, 2k plus 1. Do you follow? Ngayon, directly proven na yung n squared odd. O, next example. Question number 2. Prove that for all integers n, if n is even, then n squared is even. Yung number 1 natin, if n is odd, then n squared is odd. So, dito even naman. So, ngayon, by definition, n is even, showing that n is equal to 2k. Fix yan. Sinabi ko yan. Kumbaga, sa lahat ng libro, ang representation ng even na integer, 2k. O kaya pwede other variable. Hindi lang k. Kasi madalas kasi k ginagamit eh. So, any variable pwedeng gamitin dyan. Next. So, ang gagawin ko dito, copy our definition of even. Kukopihin nyo. N is equal to 2k. Then, same thing. Square both sides. Kasi kailangan natin mapalabas na yung n squared din, even. Then afterwards, so n squared now is equal to 2k squared. O, anong sagot? 4k squared. Tama ba? Then, kailangan nating ipakita, mapalabas natin to from here class, kailangan mapakita natin yung definition ng even. Kailangan magkaroon tayo ng parang format 2k. Pwede ibang letter, pwedeng 2p, 2m, 2s, 2t, basta kailangan magkaroon ka ng 2k. So, para magawa yun, copyhin nyo yung n squared is equal to, ilabas nyo yung 2. Kasi sa definition ng even, 2 nakalabas. Diba? May 2 dyan, constant, fixed. So, lalabas ko yung 2. So, i-divide ko yung 4k squared by 2. So, 4k squared divided by 2, 2k squared. Okay? So, ina-assume nyo, for some, 2k squared is an integer. Taken as 1 yan. Kumbaga, isang number lang ang katumbas ng 2k squared. Integer siya. Example, ang gagamitin kong letter ulit, p. Is an integer, p. So, if p is equal to 2k squared, replace 2k squared by p. So, n squared now is equal to 2. Ano yung katumbas ng 2k squared? P. So, ngayon, napakita ko nga na kung yung n even, yung n squared din, even. Kasi iyon ang definition ng even. Dapat 2 times any variable. Do you follow? So, proven na siya by direct proof na yung n squared din even based sa format natin na 2p. O parang yung p parang k. Parang bumalik ka dun sa n is equal to 2k. Next. Dito na tayo sa number 3. Tanong. Let a, b, and c be integers. Yun daw a, b, c ay nagre-represent sila ng mga saktong bilang. Example, pwede silang 1, 3, 5, pwede silang 3, 7, 9, pwede silang 11, 15, 100, basta tatlong integers. Directly prove that if a divides b and a divides c, then a also divides b plus c. Ma'am, ano ibig sabihin nun? Pag daw yung a, mahati niya si b, ibig sabihin ng a divides b, yung a ang divisor. Kumbaga, yung a mahati niya si b. Ibig sabihin niya, in other form, b divided by a lang yon. And a divides c, yun daw a mahati si c, so si c yung hinahati divided by a. Therefore daw, yun daw a, also, mahati niya yung b plus c. So, ibig sabihin, therefore, b plus c divided by a. Yan ang kailangan yung i-prove. O, example, kung wari, 10 mahati sa 2. Yung a mo, 2. 10 divided by 2, 5. Tapos yung 8 mahati sa 2. So, 8 divided by 2, 4. So, ang lumalabas kong b, 10. Lumalabas kong c, 8. Ang divisor nila, 2. So, pag pinag-add ko daw yung dalawang hinahati, dividends, 8 saka 10. So, 18. Mahahati din ba siya sa divisor mong 2? Yes, kasi 18 divided by 2 is 9. Kaso hindi mo kailangan ng saktong bilang dito, class. Kailangan mo representation lang. Gagamit ka lang ng mga variables. Ganun. So, medyo madugo, pero kakayanin. So, ngayon, ang gagawin nyo dito, yung ating B, integer siya. Di ba sabi dito, B saka C integer? You may say now that B is equal to AK. B is equal to AK, wherein AK for some K is an integer. So, meaning to say, AK is also an integer. Tapos, next, C is equal to example class, AM. For some M is an integer. And then AM is an integer also. Ma'am, ano po ba ibig sabihin yan? Kumbaga, ganito class. Yung B is equal to AK, pag kinompute ko siya, kuwari kinompute ko, di ba sabi ko, A divides B. Di ba ang format nun is B divided by A. Kumbaga daw yung A mahahati si B, so B divided by A is equal to K lang yan. Ma'am, paano po nangyari? Kasi pag meron kang B is equal to AK, divide both sides by K, by A. Para ma-solve mo si K, so cancel A, so K now is equal to B over A. So meron ka talagang, kumbaga, yung quotient nila, nag-represent ka ng integer K. Pag sinabi B is equal to AK, ang ibang form niya class ay B over A is equal to K. Yung C is equal to AM, ang ibang form niya lang, para nag-a-assume ka na may isang integer M na kung saan siya ay nanggaling sa ratio or sa quotient ng C divided by A. Di ba ang original nating given, pag daw yung A mahahati si B, so B divided by A, at pag yung A mahahati din si C divided by A, kailangan daw ma-prove mo na yung sum ng B sa C ng mga dividends, mahahati din ng divisor na A. Yan sila. So, nagkaroon ka ng another variable. Actually, hindi lang siya K saka M. Pwede, kahit anong letter gusto mo. Kumari, gusto mo yung AK, gawin mong AJ. O yung AM, pwede mong gawin yung AP. Kayo bahala. So, ang gagawin natin next, so, kailangan nating ma-prove na yung B plus C, dito tayo pupunta, magsasolve na tayo. So, B plus C. Yan ang kailangan nating ipakita, no? Kung saan, pag dinivide mo siya sa A, may katumbas siya na integers. Ayan. B plus C is equal to A. B plus C divided by A, may katumbas siya na integers. Ano kaya yon? So, para magawa yon, isasolve natin itong B plus C. B plus C is equal to substitution. Di ba sinabi ko may katumbas si B? Ano katumbas ni B dito? AK. So, replace B by AK. Substitution plus, kinokopya ko lang yung plus. Ito yung plus na yun sa left ha. Di ba B plus C? So, yung B ko, pinalitan ko ng AK. Nakalagay sa taas class. Then, plus C, yung C ko AM. So, AM. Substitution. The next one, kailangan mapakita natin na B plus C, tagahati niya rin si A. Kailangan mapakita ko yan. O, paano ko mapapakita yan? Paano ko ito mapapalabas? Kung makikita nyo, class, dun sa right side ng equation ko, may A. Tama? So, ang gagawin ko muna, copy again, is equal to, may common factor sila, yung dalawang term. Di ba ang dalawang term natin dito, AK saka AM. So, ilalabas natin si A. Divide each term by A. So, yung nasa taas, AK divided by A, K plus AM divided by A, M. Ayun, na-isolate ko na si A. So, paano ko siya gagawin denominator? Para magawa ko siyang denominator, i-divide ko to both sides by A. Okay? Para na-cancel si A dito. Ayan. So, ngayon, ano na matitira? So, B plus C divided by A is equal to K plus M. So, ito pala yung integer na to. Is an integer. Yung kinestion mark ko kanina. So, ibig sabihin, proven na kung yung A mahati si B, B divided by A, at kung yung A mahati din si C, C divided by A, ibig sabihin, mahati din ni A yung sum ni B sa C. At ang katumbas niya, integer. So, parang sinabi ko, kung yung KM, gawin ko siyang letter, ano man gusto niyo letter? Kuwari, gawin ko siyang P. So, ibig sabihin, B plus C over A is equal to P. O, parang ang sinabi ko kanina, class, B divided by A is equal to K, at meron kang C divided by A is equal to M. Therefore, B plus C over A is equal to P. Proven by direct proof. Final answer. Number 4. Directly prove that M and N are odd integers. Then Mn is also an odd integer. Okay, so meron tayong konsepto dito na pag daw may dalawa kang odd na M at saka N, pag daw minultiply sila, ang sagot odd din. Example, 1 saka 3. O, di ba parehas odd yun? O, i-times nyo. 1 times 3, 3. Another odd integers. Example, 11 saka 9. Di ba? Yung 9 odd. Example, yung 9M. Tapos yung 11N. O, pag tinimes mo daw yun, add din. So, 11 times 9, 99. Add din. Eh, kaso hindi nga tayo numbers variables. So, sorry. So, recall natin, by definition, definition, balikan nyo yung formula ng odd. Kung wari, M is equal to 2K plus 1. Di ba yan ang definition ng odd? Laging 2K plus 1. Pag even, 2K. Assuming, dalawa yung odd integer. So, meron ka pang isang letter. N is equal to, syempre, hindi ko na pwedeng gamitin si K. Nagamit ko na si K. Ano ba kasunod ni K? P naman. So, 2P plus 1. Ayan. So, meron ka ng M is equal to 2K plus 1, saka N is equal to 2P plus 1. So, yun yung format ng odd. Parang 2 times any number plus 1. Therefore, yun daw product nila, add din. So, ang gawin natin, Mn is equal to, ano ba yung M natin? Anong katumbas? 2K plus 1. Ano yung katumbas ng N? 2P plus 1. Then, multiply. Anong gagawin? FOIL method. 2K times 2P. Anong sagot? 4KP. Kaya pa? Next, outer, magkabilang dulo. 2K times 1, 2K. Plus, inner terms. 1 times 2P, 2P. Plus, 1 times 1, 1. Then, ang kailangan ko mapalabas, class, parang ang gusto kong mangyari, magkaroon ako ng T is equal to 2S plus 1. Parang ganitong format. Ayan, ganyan ha. Kailangan magkaroon ako ng 2S plus 1. Parang ganon. Pero hindi S ang gagamitin kong letter. Depende. Ano ba? P, Q, R. Gusto nyo R gamitin natin kahit anong letter. So, Mn is equal to, okay. Paano ko mapapalabas si 2? Di ba nakalagay dito 2S? Gamitin ko na lang S. Paano ko mapapalabas si 2? Di ba itong tatlo na to, nakikita nyo itong tatlo na to magkakasunod? Di ba common factor nila si 2? Tama? So, lalabas ko si 2. Tapos, yung bawat term, yung tatlo lang na ginuhitan ko, i-divide ko sa 2. So, open parenthesis, 4KP divided by 2, 2KP. Tama? Plus 2K divided by 2, K. Plus 2P divided by 2, P. Makakancel yung 2. then plus 1. Wow! So, okay na. So, ina-assume mo itong nakapaloob sa parenthesis na to, lahat to, an integer s. Example, s siya. Integer. Taken as 1. Integer siya na s. So, ngayon, mn is equal to 2s plus 1. Plus 1. Oh, final answer. So, napalabas natin na kung yung n daw odd, yung product nila odd din. Kasi napakita ko yung format na 2 times any number plus 1. Proven. Final answer. Check. Do you follow? Oh, example number 5. Oh, let m and n be integers. Directly prove that m and n are perfect squares, then mn is also a perfect squares. Ma'am, ano po ba yung perfect squares? Pag sinabing perfect squares, ito yung mga number na may square root. Example ng perfect square, 9. Perfect square yon. Kasi square root ng 9, 3. Nanggaling siya sa 3 times 3. Another example ng perfect square, 81. Kasi square root ng 81, 9. Pero ang perfect square mo doon, yung 81. Another perfect square, yung 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196. Yan ang mga perfect square. O, 625, anong square root nun? 25. 576, anong square root nun? 24. So, yan ang mga perfect square. 1024, anong square root nun? 32. O, like that. Yan, yung sinasabi ko. So, alam niyo na kung ano yung perfect square. So, directly prove that m and n are perfect squares. Okay? Then, mn is also a perfect squares. So, assuming class na m is equal to k squared. Assuming m is equal to k squared, kung saan for some integer k, and then let's assume also, example to given to, n is also a perfect square given by p squared for some integer p. So, therefore, if you have mn, i-multiply nyo lang itong dalawa na to. So, k squared times p squared. Mn is equal to, di ba parehas silang naka-squared? Pwede nyong pagsamahin na lang yung variable, i-square nyo na lang isang beses. So, ngayon, tapos ka na. Itong kp na to, i-represent natin as s. S yan. Assuming integer din siya. Is an integer also? Integer. So, ngayon, mn is equal to s squared. So, ibig sabihin yung product nila, perfect square din. Kasi, ayan o, naka-squared. Parang sinabi kong 3 squared, 9. Parang sinabi kong 8 squared, 64. Parang sinabi kong 9 squared, 81. So, ang mga sinasabi kong n, k, p, saka s, ito, yung 8, yung 9, yung 3. Like that. Do you follow? Proven.
Thank you, class. So, I hope you understood this lesson number 4 about direct proof based on my recording of my previous online live discussion. Thank you, class.